Welcome back to Red and Blue. I'm Caitlin Huey-Burns. New CBS polling shows that Republican voters disagree on how the House should proceed now that it has finally elected a speaker. So for more on that, as well as general political outlooks heading into 2023, CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, joins us from Studio 57 in New York. Hey, Anthony, it's great to see you. So walk us through what you found in this poll. What are the priorities that people want Congress to address?
Hey there, Caitlin. Now I'm going to tell you a story about inflation, cooperation, and maybe investigations. Let me start with this. Lowering inflation is the #1 thing people, and this is bipartisan, say they want Congress to tackle. Maybe no surprise. It's been a top concern. Views of the economy are not so great, and that was a big part of the campaign. But then here's the cooperation part. Now, what we're watching in the House now, especially with the speaker fight, speaks to some of this. You get this split, really just about a split, among Republicans who either want to work with Biden and Democrats where they can, or about half of them say their first priority should be oppose Joe Biden and Democrats. Democrats, for their part, do want to try to work with Republicans where they can. And this isn't quite news. People always ask for bipartisanship at the start of a Congress. But the difference here, and this is where I talk about some of the speaker fight playing into this, look at how it plays out with MAGA Republicans, where they're much more likely to prioritize telling their party to oppose Democrats, to oppose Joe Biden. And that's kind of a theme that we've seen play out. And then the last part of that, investigations. Well, let me show you this. The percent who say investigating Joe Biden should be a priority, well, that's only 31% of the public, but it's a majority of Republicans, and this number, too, is heavily driven by those Republicans who call themselves MAGA Republicans, much more likely, 72 as opposed to 47% who don't. So that's really the look at the splits within the Republican Party as they play out in Congress, Caitlin.
Yeah, Anthony, I think that's so fascinating and so important how you break that down, because you have Republicans and then you have Republicans who identify as Trump supporters, Trump Republicans, and I think they're very different there. What does that tell us about how this Congress will approach certain things? I mean, what do those folks want in terms of investigations, in terms of policy?
Yeah, we asked a little bit about that. And specifically, since you raised the former president, Donald Trump, there still is a majority that says they want the party to be at least somewhat loyal to him. And there's another component, too, which is people say, or Republicans say, if not him directly, then his policies, and even for many, his views on the 2020 election. And that's part of it, too, because when we go and look at, Americans have long said that they think democracy is under threat. This is another number I wanted to show you, where we've seen a little bit of improvement there in this poll, where now it's 62% who say they feel like democracy is threatened. That's down from where it was before the start of the campaign. Okay, positive movement there. And then we asked people, okay, was the 2022 midterms legitimate, right? As you know, there was the feeling among Republicans still is that 2020 wasn't legitimate. Of course it was. But look at this. You've still got 36% of Republicans saying even 22 wasn't legitimate, and many of them say they don't think the Democrats legitimately won the Senate. So election denialism hasn't entirely gone away, and that kind of permeates in there, too, when we ask people their views, Caitlin.
All right, a lot to unpack heading into a busy news new year. Anthony, thank you so much for your polling. It helps us kind of color what we're seeing on the ground, so we appreciate it.